Grace's marriage to Noah, arranged by her father, was fraught with difficulties. Noah's infidelity and sudden demand for divorce left Grace devastated and forced to return to her parents. However, the very next day brought an unexpected twist. This unforeseen event would become the catalyst for Grace's remarkable turnaround.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Drama of Destiny. This story we're about to tell has a shocking twist beyond your imagination. First, let's get started.
My name is Emma. I just turned 30 recently. Today, I want to share with you the story of my life's dramatic turnaround. I have a brother, 2 years older. His name is Liam. Even as a child, my brother had a handsome face with distinct features. His looks were so striking that the neighbors used to joke that a model scout might come for him. In other words, he was what you'd call a pretty boy. He was also charming, naturally smart, and quick-witted for a kid. Everyone adored my brother, including our parents and other adults. On the other hand, from my kindergarten days, I was somehow the only one in the family with a chubby body type. My facial features were similar to my brother's, but being chubby made them less attractive. Not even close, really. I was shy and had no charm. I wasn't good at talking, so I never got called a bright kid like my brother. Even as a child, I noticed that people around us often compared my brother and me, calling us complete opposites. I think those comments reached my parents' ears too. By the time I entered elementary school, my parents seemed to have lost interest in me. My test scores were lower compared to when my brother was my age, and I stayed chubby. While my brother got afternoon snacks at 3 o'clock, I got none. Yet somehow, I stayed chubby. My mom would laugh and say, "You're just like a round little ball, rolling around." As a child, I didn't really understand what she meant, and I felt happy just to see her smile. But looking back, I realized she was just making fun of me. My brother would get new clothes and shoes for his birthday, for scoring a goal in soccer, or for any number of reasons. As for me, even though I was a girl, I only got my brother's hand-me-downs, not even new shoes. I lost count of how many times I tripped in those ill-fitting shoes. The only treasure I had was the backpack my grandparents gave me before they passed away, a gift just for me. After a while, my brother graduated from elementary school and went on to a private middle school. Our parents were thrilled that he got into a school famous for its high academic standards. At that time, my brother's cute looks were like those of a child star, and he even got scouted as a child model. Because of that, our parents, especially our mom, would often take him to walk down prominent streets like Fifth Avenue. It was as if she was silently saying, "Look how cute my son is." Meanwhile, I never went out with my mom. Maybe I did when I was a baby, but I have no memory of it since I became aware of things. Once my brother suggested, "Let's take Emma with us next time." Thinking back, I believe my brother, even as a child, noticed that our parents were treating me coldly. But my mom openly made a disgusted face at his words and simply replied, "Maybe someday." I wasn't happy that my brother was trying to include me. Instead, I just felt a deep sense of misery. A few years later, I became a middle schooler. Unlike my brother, I went to a regular public school. My parents never had any expectations for me, so they never intended to make me take entrance exams. My dad even declared, "We're not spending money on you." It's not like I wanted to go to a private school, but being told that from the start made me feel like my life was shut off. When I was little, I vaguely thought, maybe this is just how it is to be a little sister. I didn't know it happened in other families. From the time I was born and became aware of things, the abnormality of our family felt normal. Around this time, as I entered adolescence, I finally started to wonder, why am I the only one being treated so differently? But my parents' treatment of me became even harsher. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she had plenty of time, yet she often left the housework and grocery shopping to me while she went out with her friends. When I told my dad I wanted to hang out with my friends, he would scold me, saying, "What about the chores?" My brother always looked out for me, helping out and even standing up to our parents, but when it came to how they treated me, they never listened to him. Eventually, my brother had to focus on his high school entrance exams and then got into one of the top schools in the state, leaving him with no time to worry about things at home, let alone about me. It was around this time that I truly began to experience what I can only describe as hell. The first incident was when they skipped the parent-teacher conferences. For most families, it would be a big deal if a parent missed a parent-teacher conference. But for my parents, it was more like, we're not going, so what? In reality, it wasn't even considered important. In all 3 years of middle school, my parents attended only one parent-teacher conference, and that was in grade 7. They didn't show up when I was in grade 8, and not even during the crucial 9th grade when I was getting ready to go to high school. My homeroom teacher was concerned and asked me if something was going on at home, but I brushed it off. I knew my situation wasn't normal, but it wasn't like my parents were physically abusing me. I didn't know how to describe the emotional pain I was enduring. I felt embarrassed to even talk about it, as if admitting, I'm a kid who isn't loved by my parents. But the incidents didn't stop there. The next incident was when I was left behind on New Year's. That year, at the end of December, my parents took only my brother and went back to my mother's family home for the holidays. Until the previous year, I had always gone with them, but this time they told me, you're a student, so you should stay home and study. It was probably just an excuse. They simply didn't want to deal with me. As a result, I spent New Year's Eve alone. I didn't dare ask my friends to hang out because it felt like saying, I'm a lonely kid who got left behind. So I stayed home, watching movies alone, and then the New Year's Eve countdown show, and finally went to bed after shedding a few tears. The next morning, the doorbell rang repeatedly, waking me up with a start. It seemed too early for my family to be back, so I nervously checked the intercom screen. Standing there were my mom's brother and his wife. Surprised, I rushed to the door, bedhead and all, asking, what's going on? Emma, we're taking you out of here. We've already gotten permission from your mom. Don't worry, we'll take care of the paperwork later. Uncle, wait, what do you mean? I was confused by my uncle's urgency. I don't get it. What do you mean by leaving the house? Emma, if you don't mind, we'd like you to become our daughter. We don't have children of our own, but we've always thought of you as our daughters since the day you were born. I didn't understand what was happening. It was true that my uncle and aunt, who couldn't have children due to health issues, had always doted on me during family gatherings. I knew they had often criticized my parents for how they treated me. It was my aunt who would play with me when I was left alone, and my uncle who bought me the newest snacks and cute clothes. I had more fond memories with them than I did with my parents. My uncle explained that they were just with my mom. She said they don't plan on sending you to high school. Once you turn 16, they want you to work to help pay for your brother's college tuition. We can't just stand by and let that happen. You have the right to go to school, and you shouldn't have to sacrifice your life for the family. I was in shock. I couldn't believe my parents were willing to sacrifice my future for my brothers. It suddenly made sense why they hadn't attended my parent-teacher conferences in recent years. They weren't interested in my life, and they didn't care about my dreams or aspirations. In their minds, they had already decided my life would be one of hard labor, working like a horse. As I collapsed in tears, my uncle and aunt knelt beside me, offering comfort. We may not be your real parents, and you might feel awkward about it, but we promise we'll make you happy. Tears welled up in my aunt's eyes as she hugged me tightly, overwhelmed with emotion. Emma, you deserve to be happy. We should have come for you sooner. If it's okay with you, we'd like you to be our daughter. My uncle, with red eyes, looked straight at me and said those words. Had there ever been a time since I was born when an adult had wanted me this much? I was only 15 years old, but it was clear to me what I had to choose. I decided to be adopted by my uncle and his wife. 10 years have passed since then. Since they took me in, my uncle and aunt have showered me with so much love and given me so many wonderful experiences. My aunt would take me shopping on weekends, saying it was fun picking out clothes for me, and my uncle, who always wanted to have a drink with his daughter, prepared a bottle of wine from the year I was born for my 20th birthday. We went on trips together, and even though I was a high school student, my uncle, who was surprisingly childish, would take me to the zoo and aquarium. These were irreplaceable memories that I never experienced with my biological parents, memories I would never forget. At first, I called them uncle and aunt, but gradually, I could only think of them as my parents. Now, I call them dad and mom. I heard that when my biological parents visited their hometown back then, they drunkenly told my uncle and aunt, Emma is good for nothing. She doesn't have any charm, and let's face it, she's not exactly pretty, right? No sparkle. She's not smart either. Honestly, we don't need a dumb daughter when we have an outstanding son. My uncle and aunt were furious when they heard this, but instead of feeling guilty, my parents even said, "We're not going to send her to high school," which is how the adoption discussion began. Even though it was New Year's Eve, my aunt, who hadn't been drinking, drove over to get me, and I am truly grateful for that. I want to give back to these precious parents of mine, even if just a little. I wanted to be a daughter they were glad they adopted, so I studied incredibly hard after entering high school. During the early high school days, I was too overwhelmed to focus. That's why later on, I switched gears, set goals, and told myself, I'll secure a future that won't bring shame to my uncle and aunt. My hard work paid off, and I got into a prestigious state university. But that's still not enough to express my gratitude to my uncle and aunt. No, my dear parents. I want them to live comfortably in the future. With that determination, I continued studying hard even after entering university, got my meteorologist certification while still in school, and now I even appear on TV as a weather presenter. On top of that, I wanted to be the kind of daughter my uncle and aunt could be proud of, so I worked hard on dieting and toning my body, and now I'm known as the pretty weather girl. Looking back, I did have the potential to be beautiful since I resembled my brother in appearance. My uncle and aunt used to say, "You're a daughter we're proud of no matter what." But now, I think I'm truly becoming the daughter they can boast about. There are still so many things I want to give back and so much gratitude I want to express, so I won't stop striving. Just when I was thinking that, suddenly, my biological parents appeared before me. "Emma, oh, you've grown up. You've become such a fine young lady." My parents, with tears in their eyes, clung to me. I was leaving the TV station and about to get into my car when I was caught off guard by their sudden appearance. Honestly, it had been so long that I didn't recognize them for a moment. "We were shocked to see you on TV," Liam said. "That's Emma," and we were stunned. "You've become so beautiful, and you're even a weather presenter? That's amazing." My father patted my shoulder as if to say, "That's my daughter. Really, you're our daughter. We're so proud." They actually said that. I didn't even bother hiding my disgust and glared at my parents. But they didn't seem to notice and kept talking. "Oh, that's right. Since we ran into each other, why don't we go for a meal at that restaurant just up ahead?" "Yeah, and being a weather presenter must mean you're earning a lot, right?" What do they mean, ran into each other? They were waiting for me, stalking me like creeps, and after inviting me to a meal at a restaurant, they ask about my salary? It's obvious they're just looking to freeload. But they won't be living off me. I need to send them away so they never want to see me again. Just as I was thinking that, a plan popped into my head. Though, this might work. "Mom, Dad, I'm so happy to see you, but I have more work lined up for today, so I can't go to dinner, sorry. Of course, there's no other job. I do have plans to treat my dear uncle and aunt a meal at a fancy restaurant as an anniversary gift, though." "Oh, that's too bad." I didn't miss the moment my mother almost clicked her tongue. "Would you mind sharing your contact info? I'm hosting a small party for my birthday soon, and I've invited some folks from TV stations. The food will be great, and it'll be a bit fancy, so I'd love to have you both there." When I suggested this, my parents' eyes lit up with excitement. "Really? Wow, that's nice of you. Are any actors coming, since it's a TV station?" "Oh, Dad, of course, they'll be there." My parents got all excited with big smiles on their faces. "But there's no way any actors are coming. It's a small gathering, just a party for weather presenters. Mostly, it's newspaper folks and TV station crew. At best, the fanciest people there would be news anchors or some reporters." I just smiled back at my parents' eager faces without saying a word and said, "See you at the party," before leaving. A month later, as planned, I had rented out the venue and my birthday party was held. Well, even though it was a small event, since I rented a venue, a decent number of people showed up. My parents proudly walked in, shouting, "Emma," at the top of their lungs. They might as well have been saying, "Look at us, we're her parents." It was really annoying. "Dad, Mom, welcome, but can you head over to that dressing room first? They'll do your clothes and makeup. The outfits you're wearing now are great, but they also have some brand name clothes you can rent. Since you're here, why not enjoy the experience?" At my suggestion, my parents beamed with joy. It was so obvious they were pleased. They were in such a good mood. Oh my, I don't get many chances to wear brand name clothes. Do you think they'll suit me? Haha, well, you have put on a little weight. Stop it. Watching them banter, I lifted their spirits by saying, "You both still look young and beautiful, so they'll definitely suit you." My parents nodded, as if they'd been waiting to hear that. When I was a kid, I was too scared of being disliked to see them for who they really were, and I always felt like I didn't know what they were thinking. But looking at them now, they seem pretty simple. They're the kind of people who easily fall for expensive things, power, beauty, anything that everyone likes. After getting their hair and makeup done, my parents, now in a great mood, returned to the party venue, looking all excited. My mom was wearing a light pink, off-the-shoulder, mini dress that's really meant for someone much younger. It was an incredibly inappropriate look for someone her age. Her sagging knees were a dead giveaway of her age. My dad went with a flashy tie covered in yellow and green geometric patterns and a bright red suit. By the way, he was the only one in the room wearing such a loud suit. Even though there wasn't a dress code, no one else would pick such a tacky combination. Sure, the clothes were brand name, but they were secondhand items I got from a thrift store. Actually, I arranged everything. Since my parents are coming today, could you have them wear these? I told them they were the clothes we wore to a family party when I was little, so they're sentimental pieces. With that explanation, neither the makeup artist nor the costume designer questioned anything. Of course, I have no memories of attending a party with my parents in those outfits. Sometimes, a little white lie is necessary. Believing without doubt that their outfits were brand name, my parents seemed quite pleased, saying, "They're flashy, so I'm a bit embarrassed, but if you say it looks good, then it should be okay." In the past, my parents would do anything my brilliant older brother said, as long as it didn't involve me. Now that attention was directed toward me, the brilliant one. After a while, the party started, and as the guest of honor, it was my turn to give a speech. Before going on stage, I held my parents' hands and said, "I'll be saying a message to you both today, so make sure to listen carefully." My parents were surprised. Really? But they looked thrilled as they watched me walk up to the stage. Everyone, thank you so much for coming to my birthday party today. I'd also like to take this moment to thank everyone who helped organize the party. Hearing my formal tone, my friends jokingly called out, "That's a bit stiff, and you're not like that usually." Hearing that, I joked back, "I'm just being myself," as I turned towards my parents. My parents are here with us today. Those are my parents over there. When I pointed them out with my hand, the lighting crew helpfully spotlighted them. Those are the shameless parents who abandoned me when I was a teenager and still had the nerve to track me down after seeing me on TV. The room stirred at my words. It's no surprise. Really, I had never shared much about my past with anyone other than a few close friends. "What, Emma, how could you say that?" My mom stood up, while my dad just looked stunned. "Those two have been comparing me to my perfect older brother and treating me like dirt since I was in kindergarten. I was the only one who didn't get any snacks, and I had to wear my brother's hand-me-downs. Even though they treated me like that, I still loved them as a child because, to a kid, parents are everything. But when I got to middle school, they kept piling chores on me and finally said they wouldn't even let me go to high school. They didn't even show up for the parent-teacher conferences. It was my uncle and aunt, worried about me, who took me in as their adopted daughter. I don't mean to boast, but I'm usually a pretty cheerful person. That's because my uncle and aunt took me in and constantly showed me that I wasn't worthless. They loved me enough to help me regain my confidence, and because of them, I became outgoing and cheerful. So, the story of my past was quite a shock to everyone at the party, given how cheerful I usually am. Suddenly, I started hearing people whisper things like, "That's awful," and on their daughter's birthday, dressed like that. My parents couldn't handle the stares and began trembling, looking down. But now I'm grateful to those two. Because of them, I was lucky enough to be taken in by my uncle and aunt, no, by my real parents, and experience what it's like to be part of a loving family. Hearing this, my parents looked at me as if wanting to believe that they were important parents to me. I just gave them a calm smile. "Tom from Daily News, are you here? Please write an article about everything that just happened, with photos. Consider it my birthday present." When I called out to my friend from the magazine, he had already taken pictures of my parents. What? Stop it. Stop. Don't take those photos. My parents panicked, desperately trying to cover their faces. Don't be so cowardly, I shouted at my parents. When I was a kid, no matter how much I said, stop when something hurt, you always forced me to do it anyway. It's pretty convenient for you to say you can't take it now. My mother was tearing up at my outburst. I'm sorry, but please, don't make this into an article. Your father and I will be written about badly. And Emma, you don't want that for your parents, do you? I was stunned by her audacity at this point. Do you seriously think I still consider you my parents? You barely raised me, abandoned all your responsibilities as parents, and now you want to act like you were? My parents are my uncle and aunt. They're the only ones I consider my mom and dad. Don't ever try to contact me again. Before I knew it, tears were flowing down my face as memories of the past and gratitude towards my uncle and aunt came rushing back. Seeing me like that, some of the guests forced my parents out of the venue. It's over. This time, for real, I've finally cut ties with those people. As a child, I was only able to cut ties because my uncle and aunt protected me. But this time, I did it on my own, with my own strength. The sense of accomplishment and gratitude towards my uncle and aunt brought more tears to my eyes, but I felt incredibly refreshed. Later, the magazine asked me, "Are you really okay with this?" But I insisted and had them publish my story. It was pretty sensational, and I was worried it might hurt my reputation, but in reality, the articles and news pieces were overwhelmingly positive, with headlines like, "The Comeback of a Girl Pushed to the Edge," "The Modern Cinderella Story." My reputation actually soared. As for those two, well, since it's too confusing otherwise, I'll reluctantly keep calling them parents. After my story came out, they were ostracized by their neighbors and had to move. The rumors spread quickly at my dad's workplace, and he ended up quitting. My mom was a stay-at-home wife, so now they're both jobless and living off their savings, or so my brother tells me. Yes, even after I was adopted, my brother remained concerned about me and often visited me at my uncle and aunt's home. At first, he said, "I want us to live together again," but soon he realized that living with my uncle and aunt was better for me and was happy I was adopted. He even helped me with my studies during college. He's a dear brother. After I told the magazine everything, my brother also didn't want anything to do with them, so he cut ties with our parents. He joked, "The next time I see them will probably be at their funerals," but knowing him, he probably wouldn't even go to that. It's been 5 years since then. I married Tom, the man from the magazine who helped publish the article. We now have children, and I'm a mother to twins, a boy and girl. I'm committed to raising my kids in a way that doesn't show favoritism, letting them grow up happy while laughing. Just like my uncle and aunt gave me unconditional love. Unlike my brother, who always watched over me from afar. I'll raise them to be kind to everyone. And I still have things to do beyond raising my children. Yes, it's my way of repaying my uncle and aunt. This year, we treated them to a trip for their wedding anniversary and went to Alaska together with my husband and kids. My uncle and aunt always say, "Emma, you have your own family now. You don't need to do this," but giving back to them is something I genuinely enjoy. It's not an obligation. I do it because I love seeing their happy faces. It's like my purpose in life. I joke with them, saying, "Don't spoil the fun," while already planning what to do next. Maybe we'll all stay at a fancy hotel next time. There are still so many things I want to do with my family.
Thank you for watching the video until the end. If you enjoyed the story, please give it a like. If you're interested in other stories, please subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.